We're joined in studio by Anila Ali, the founder and president of American Muslim and Multi-Faith Women's Empowerment Council, and Samiran Singh, a member of the advisory board of AMMWEC. And we also have Dan Perry still in the studio. First of all, thank you both for coming in, and thank you for being here. You are two very brave people. Please explain. I mean, you're a Pakistani American Muslim woman living in D.C. that has spoken at in D.C. at the big pro-Israel rally. That takes a lot of guts. Please explain why you're there and why it's important to speak your truth.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And I'm so glad that we were able to bring a group of Muslim women and interfaith leaders to see what's happening on the ground. What I've been disturbed by is the lack of women voices for the women that were taken hostage, the women that were raped. And it is very disturbing for me to be a woman and find that there is no sympathy in my sisters for these women. Is it because they're Jewish? Is it because they're Israeli? And that's the reason why I decided to bring a group of Muslim women who are with me, and you'll probably hear from them later. But we have to speak up. It doesn't matter.
Right, when Me Too started, women all of a sudden were bonded over everything. Why does this have to be a separation by religion? And for you also, very brave for you to be here. Please also talk about your involvement and why it's very important for you to, to try to pursue dialogue and truth.
Obviously, there's faith aspects to this conflict, and whenever you get religions involved, especially in the 21st century, it's critical that women's voices are at the table. When there's such an unthinkable amount of violence against women, how could you not listen to Muslim women and Muslim women from all over the world, from Iran? Whereas the Iranian women's rights movement, we've seen in the United States that the same people who said protect Iran's women are now ignoring the violence against the Israeli women, which is incredibly hard to follow. What about Bangladeshi Muslim women, Pakistani Muslim women, Sri Lankan, Indian Muslim women? There's Muslim women all over the world who have critical perspective on this conflict. And what we've seen on the ground, we really expected. We've met with family members of people who were killed, whose children are in Gaza, have been taken hostage. We expected an incredibly hardened and vengeful, and maybe rightfully vengeful stance. And they talked about compassion, they talked about love, they talked about, that there's no hate for the Palestinian people, for Muslims in general, that it's one human family. Some even said that it's one God, and that it's about, it's about human rights and human dignity and their right to exist, and that all people have to be protected, and we're very touched by that.
Yeah, and how do you explain, listen, I mean, you yourself are saying you're living in the States and you're getting death threats yourself, that you don't even feel safe in the United States because you're standing up. What's going on?
Well,
scary.
As a Muslim woman, I've had to stand up to the patriarchal structures. But we've been doing that since 9/11. And the very people who taught me to speak up for the Muslim community are now being attacked. It's the Jewish people. And there seems to be no empathy. What has happened is like a whole lot of hate for the Jewish people, the age-old anti-Semitism. It's like it's become a demon. It's poisoned the community. It's poisoned the campuses. And I've always believed since 9/11 that a lot of the anti-Israeli sentiment, it was always translating and transferring into anti-Semitism. And that's what we were trying to curb on campuses and say, let's all understand the conflict. This war is not Muslims and Jews. This is Hamas. These are the terrorists. They have an ideology that kills, that's okay to kill everybody. They're the ones who attacked the United States. And even at that time, we had to, I'm a woman, I stood up and said, I'm so glad Osama bin Laden is dead because he hijacked my religion. Because of that, people look at me and think she's suspect. My son was called terrorist, I was called terrorist. Who stood with us?
Right.
It was the Jewish people, because they know how to fight hate. We looked up to them. I can literally tell you, we cried on their shoulders because we were faced with so much intense Islamophobia. And now, that hate is such that what goes around comes around.
Yeah.
We're all going to be affected. And then to find that our people are not standing up for the Jewish people, they're saying Hamas are the representatives of the Muslims.
It's such really it's
very
because exactly
concerning.
this is not what the Quran says. I wish we had more time. We're out of time, but thank you both so much for coming in, and thank you really for your bravery, and keep fighting the good fight of getting truth out there. And thanks again to you for joining us.